Okay, I'm going to talk about overview of legal matters related to setting up operations in Japan. Let me introduce myself a little bit. I have been working as a lawyer for 10 years, more than 10 years, at TMI Associates, which is a leading law firm in Japan. And 4 years ago, I moved to the US to work for our Silicon Valley office. And after that, I was moving to Israel to work for Herzog Fox Neiman for 2 years. And I just came back to Tokyo, or my original firm, or last year in June. And my expertise is venture capital financing, assistance in setting up operations in Japan, M&A deals, or any other corporate stuff. And I have been supporting many Israeli companies with their setting up operations in Japan, including establishment of subsidiaries or branch offices and obtaining work visas for their employees. And also I've been supporting many Japanese companies as well, or in their investment into Israeli startups and collaboration agreement with Israeli startups. I'm gonna speak about our global networking. We have 620 attorneys, including patent attorneys. And we have 6 offices in Japan, and we have 10 branch offices all over the world, including in Silicon Valley and London as well. And we have many experts all over the world, including in Brazil, France, and Kenya. And my Israeli secondment was part of it. Okay, let's move on to the today's topic, which is the establishment of an entity in Japan. We have 3 types of operation in Japan. First, representative office. Second, branch office, and subsidiary. And one of the most important things, which should be kept in mind, is that representative office is not a legal entity, even though branch office and subsidiary are legal entities here. And in general, under the corporate law, or foreign companies wishing to engage in continuous transactions in Japan must register in Japan. So foreign companies can engage in business operations only by establishing a registered branch office or subsidiary. You cannot do that with representative office. What is representative office? Representative offices are established for carrying out preparatory and supplemental tasks aimed at enabling foreign companies to engage in full-scale business operations in Japan. That's why they can conduct market survey, collect information, or other advertising efforts, but they cannot engage in sales activities here. And also, a representative office cannot have a bank account here, and cannot lease real estate in its own name, or because it's not a legal entity. So that's why if you wanted to have agreements with in the representative office's name, so you have to sign such agreements have to be signed by the headquarters or the person in charge at the representative office. So this slide is this slide shows the difference between branch office and subsidiary KK Kabushiki Gaisha. And one of the big difference is that branch office is a part of Israeli entity, even though subsidiary is a different entity from the Israeli entity. So this difference will cause another difference of liability of equity participants toward creditors. For branch offices, or liability of equity participants toward creditors is unlimited because a branch office is a part of your company in Israel. On the other hand, subsidiary is a different entity from your entity in Israel. So that's why liability of parent company toward creditors is limited to the amount of equity participation. This is a very big difference, you have to be considered before moving forward. And also, the tax perspective is really important as well. In general, a branch office is more advantageous because your foreign company, the Israeli company can bear all corporate liabilities of your branch office here. So you can absorb their loss in your benefits in Israel. But for subsidiary, you cannot do that. So this is a big difference. Okay, this slide shows the difference between Kabushiki Gaisha and the Godo Gaisha. These two are really similar, but there's a slight difference. For example, for Godo Gaisha, you don't have to have a regular general meeting, shareholders meeting, or every year, or even though. Actually, I found a mistake. It's the opposite. In general, for Godo Gaisha, you don't have to have a shareholders meeting every year. Even though for Kabushiki Gaisha, you have to have a shareholders meeting every year. And also, for Godo Gaisha, you don't have to disclose your balance sheet publicly, but for Kabushiki Gaisha, you have to do that. This is the difference of the corporate matters you have to deal with. And also, there's a slight difference of time required. In general, it takes only 1 month to establish Godo Gaisha, but you have to, so it takes 2 months to establish the Kabushiki Gaisha. So other than that, in general, these two are quite similar, but Kabushiki Gaisha is more common in Japan. But for example, in Tokyo, Godo Gaisha is fine because there are many US companies who have Godo Gaisha here. So from the business perspective, Godo Gaisha is no problem at all. So in general, I recommend you will establish Godo Gaisha instead of Kabushiki Gaisha. Okay, let's move on to the work visa. In general, it's not difficult to get a work visa compared to the US practice. Any foreign national wishing to enter Japan must have a valid passport which contains a visa correspond to your purpose of entry in Japan, obtained in advance. And the scope of activities here is determined according to your status of residence. And to get working status, you need to have at least one office here, or it can be a rep office or representative office instead of a branch office. So these four the popular status of residence here. And if you'd like to be a business manager here, or you can apply for the first one. And if you have a kind of special educational background, or you might be able to apply for the second one. So in the case that a foreign person is employed by a Japanese company, or the Japanese company often obtain this status of residence. And for the third one, inter-company transferee, if you move to the Japanese entity from your headquarters or in Israel, so or you can apply for this status of residence. And the skilled labor is a kind of, how can I say, it's really obtained by foreign companies because it's for, in general, or like trainee and athlete or cook or something. So that's why, in general, you don't have to consider it. Okay, this is a kind of requirement of principal working statuses. For business manager, or your business in Japan has to employ at least two full employees, or other than yourself, or the total amount of the contribution has to be 5 million yen. And also, this is very important. So the requirements for securing the office will be strictly judged, which means you need to have an independent office space surrounded by walls on all sides, and virtual offices or co-working spaces are not allowed. And for rental offices, it depends on the situation. That's why I cannot recommend rental offices as well for this status of residence. And for engineer or specialist in humanities and international service or educational backgrounds for these kind of things are required. So that's why, so you have to think about it before deciding it. And the term of the status of residence is 5 years, 3 years, 1 year, or 3 months. Now for inter-company transferee, there is no educational background, but at least 1 year of work experience is required at your headquarters in Israel. Okay, these are matters to be kept in mind before moving forward. In general, applications are categorized according to the size of the Japanese companies that will hire the foreign employees. So some of the factors are whether the company is a listed company in Japan and how much of the employee's salary income is withheld. And in general, the period of stay is determined according to the planned period of employment you have applied for. However, in the case of a new company, like a startup here, a shorter period of stay than the planned period of employment is often granted because there's no track record of stable management. If you have a new company in Japan, you should consider this point. And also, in general, the employee needs to receive the same amount, more than the amount or the Japanese national would receive. So this is another requirement for all categories. And the final point is kind of, or how can I say, practice in Japan. If you are dispatching an employee to Japan who does not have at least 1 year of work experience at your headquarters, or you may want to execute or some kind of contract, including employment agreement or outsourcing agreement with the company in Japan, so that you can acquire the specialist status or instead of intercompany transfer status. This is the flowchart from application for certificate of eligibility to visa acquisition. In Japan, first of all, you have to, or your company, you have to apply for certificate of eligibility, and then the Immigration Bureau in Japan will issue the certificate of eligibility. It takes about 1 to 3 months for the process. Wait a second. And then you can apply for visa with the certificate of eligibility at the Japanese diplomatic mission in your country, which is Israel. And you can receive a visa there, and it takes about 3 to 7 days for the process. Okay, so I have to speak about this one, which is how COVID-19 affects entering Japan and obtaining a visa. For the time being, foreign nationals from Israel are denied to enter Japan, except for special exceptional circumstances. And all people, it's very strict right now. All people with status of residence from Israel are requested to submit a certificate of negative test result and self-quarantine for 3 days at the location designated by the quarantine station chief. And on the 3rd day of the arrival in Japan, you have to take the COVID-19 test again. And you have to pledge to retain the location data as well. And also, it's common, you have to continue self-quarantine for 14 days after entering Japan. It's very annoying. And restrictions on entry in Japan had been relaxed from last summer until the beginning of January this year. And we had a lot of people from Israel, but after the declaration of a state of emergency in January, it has been basically impossible, or kind of impossible, to obtain a new status of residence and enter Japan. And right now, I found a newspaper which says entry restrictions will continue to be tightened even after the state of emergency is lifted. So this is my final slide, which is employment. We have a lot of laws, labor laws, or including the Labor Standards Act, the Industrial Safety and Health Act, and the Minimum Wage Act. And these laws apply in general to all companies in Japan, regardless of whether the employer is Japanese or foreign. And they also apply to foreign workers in Japan, provided that the foreign workers meet the definition of workers under these laws. And this is a really important, and you have to think about it before hiring people. Or employees are strongly protected by Japanese labor laws and judicial precedents. In general, it's really difficult to fire an employee. It's much more difficult to fire an employee in Japan than in the US, of course, and in Israel as well. So that's why if you decide to hire any employee in Japan, you should consult with a specialist before doing that. Okay, that's it. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I appreciate it. I will give the floor to Shir.
Thank you so much. ありがとうございます。All right, so we have some time for Q&A now. So let's see, we had a question before from, from Shani. Is it possible to establish a company or set up branches of a company in Japan as a foreigner? I think this was already answered. Also, there was a question whether Tanaka-san will share his slides later. Will we be able to send the slides to everybody later? Tanaka-san, would that be possible?
Yeah, sure.
Great, amazing. So everybody that wanted the slides, I will send the link to them in a follow-up mail to this event later on. So does anybody else have any questions? Please let us know in the chat. Tanaka-san will be happy to answer them. Does anybody have any questions about entering Japan, about getting a visa, or maybe you want to know more deeply about the restrictions now because of COVID-19? If anybody has any questions, please let us know. A guy would like to hear some more information about Aniwu and Axelnode. No problem, I can reshare my screen now and tell you guys a little bit more. Erz would like to know, can we enter Japan as a tourist? So right now, you cannot enter Japan as a tourist. Right there, Tanaka-san?
Sorry? Actually, it's impossible.
It's impossible right now. Yes, right now, because of the state of the emergency, in order to enter Japan, there are a lot of restrictions, and unless, even if you have a special invitation from a company in Japan, it can still be very difficult to enter. So,
right, and I think for some term, even after the state of emergency is lifted, or the restriction will continue.
I see. So yeah, it's quite a conundrum right now to enter Japan. We have another question here from Omri. They want to know if in order to get a visa to Japan, do you have to pass the JLPT test?
What?
He would like to know, do you know Nihongo Noraku Shiken? So
no, not at all.
Yes.
You don't need it.
There is no need, I see. Great, so that's Omri's question answered. For Ido, he has a question. While applying to a visa, is it possible to apply for companies in Japan, or do we have to wait until we get the COE?
So actually, it's a good question. So you have to consult with the company you are thinking about applying for, because in general, the applicant of your visa is a company, not yourself. So that's why in general, if you have a employment agreement with the company in Japan, you can move forward with the procedure.
I see. Ido, I'm going to unmute and ask to unmute you. Okay, so that was sufficient. That's great. Sean has a question. I hope I said your name correctly, Sean. What are the requirements to work as a lawyer in Japan?
Oh, that's a good question. For example, it depends on your purpose. For example, I was living in Israel, right? And I was working for Herzog Fox Neiman as a seconded attorney. And at that moment, I did not have any certificate or something. I had just a normal work visa. But in Japan, we have a special work visa for foreign lawyers. So that's why if you are lawyer, Israeli lawyer, and would like to work as a foreign lawyer here, you have to apply for this special work visa.
Great, thank you. We have another question from Anisan. Are there many Israeli lawyers in Japan?
I don't think so. I'm not sure, but I think there are one or two Israeli lawyers here, but I'm not sure the number of the Israeli lawyers. It's not a big number, definitely.
I see, I see. I've heard many times that there are a lot more lawyers in Israel than there are in Japan. So I guess that's why Anisan was curious. We have a question, another question from Erez. What type of jobs are the most required in Japan from foreigners?
So right now, I think English teachers are really required, and also Japan has a huge language barrier, as you know. So that's why right now many Japanese companies are looking for opportunities to collaborate with startups and their foreign companies all over the world. So English communication skills are really important, even though many Japanese companies do not have it. So that's why if you have business skills and English communication skills or good enough, you can find a job in even a good company in Japan. What do you think, Anisa? I think you are more familiar with this matter. You are muting.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, the Tanaka-san said, there are like some requirements for English teachers or English speakers, and I think most of you can speak fluent English, so that is okay. And from like a tech point of view, we need like a Python engineer or like a back-end engineer good at the cloud, like AWS or Azure. So they are like high potential, and many companies are looking for highly skilled engineer. However, the salary is not high, in Israel. Japanese average salary for engineers are kind of $40K or something, so that is like a half or like a less, I think. So yeah, that's why if you need more salary, you have to go to Amazon or Google or that kind of a global corporation. So Japanese startups cannot pay such kind of compensation. So that is one problem. But Japan is cheap, food is cheaper than Tel Aviv, and apartment is cheaper than Tel Aviv, and tasty. So that will help you.
Yes, from experience, I can tell you that living in Japan is much cheaper than living in Israel.
Really?
Yes, delicious food you can get for very cheap, 500 yen. You can get a full meal, that is 15 shekels. In Israel, if you even want to buy a sandwich in Aroma, you need to pay like 35 shekels for half a sandwich. So
yeah,
I think it's much cheaper.
yeah.
Great. So let's move on to the next question. This one is from Ido. Sorry, Guy, about the background about the Axelnode and Anibu, because we covered this in the beginning of the meetup. I will be happy if there is some time left. I will be happy to go through it again. But now we would like to focus on the questions on the visa. So please wait patiently, Guy. So we have another question from Ido. Can you recommend the job recruitment resources? I have troubles finding my own using Google, for example. Well, Ido, you're very lucky because we are such a resource. So if you scroll back to the chat, I posted the link for the Google form. If you enter your details there, we will try our best to help you find a job in Japan, and we will be able to also recommend some other ways where you might be able to find a job in Japan as well. So please register on the form. I will post the link again before the end of the meetup if necessary. Anybody would like to add anything for this question from Ido? I guess not.
No problem. So it's not my thing.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so that's a thank you from Sean. So Alexander Osipov has a question as well. In case of JLPT, Nihongo no Rokushiken, the highest level number 1, what were the options aside of English teachers? Yeah, Ani-san can answer this one, I think.
Yeah, you can speak like in one level, that is enough for business side as well, I think. So some of my friends, not Israeli, but yeah, Korean and Chinese friends are working at a consulting firm in as like a strategy consultant, management consultant. So yeah, there are many opportunities, or like in Google or yeah, such kind of corporations are looking for multilingual and also like multicultural people. So there are many opportunities, in my opinion.
Great. There is another question in the same kind of about finding a job in Japan as well. This is from Uri Natan. Is an academic degree a must for most jobs in Japan, or would years of work experience would be sufficient?
First of all, from the visa perspective, so if you would like to apply for a specialist or any other expertise or job, or you have to have a special educational backgrounds, or as I said before. But for example, if you would like to apply for inter-company transfer, so you have to have at least 1 year work experience in your headquarters or in your country, which is in Israel. And so other than that, actually it's not. I'm not familiar with this part. So Anisan, do you know that? So for example, it's a kind of recruiting matters for Japanese big companies, right?
Yeah, actually, yeah, some companies need a degree, actually, like at least a bachelor degree. And but some tech companies, if you have experience in that field and if you have like a real skill on, for example, like if you have a good portfolio in the GitHub or previous like application development, so yeah, they try to hire you. So it really depending on the company, but general Japanese enterprises and corporations need a bachelor degree at least.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yes, and if I may add, like Tanaka-san said and Ani-san said, there are all sorts of visas, right? So if you're looking to obtain the highly skilled foreign professional visa, for that, because there was another question about JLPT as well, if you have high level of JLPT, that will also reward you some points, because to get this visa, it's like a point system. So the JLPT will definitely help you get more points. First degree, second degree, third degree, of course, will also be helpful on getting more points. So if you're looking to obtain a visa from that type, the highly skilled foreign professional visa, then those kind of things will definitely be helpful. But like Ani-san and Tanaka-san said, if you are applying directly to a Japanese company and hoping they would give you the visa to come to Japan, of course, there might not be a need if you have experience. Yes, thank you. So let's see, I don't see any other questions at the moment. Does anybody else would like to ask a question regarding finding a job in Japan or getting a visa, COVID-19? Okay, I see another question from Ido. If I am looking for a job as an English teacher in Japan, is it a must to have a degree related to that position? Like an English degree, I assume, English literature degree or that kind of thing?
No, I don't think so. My friend worked at school in Japan, and he graduated from like economics or something. So he has no background focusing on English. So yeah, it will be not a problem.
Yeah, I can speak also from my experience from my friends. You don't need a degree for teaching. If you have some experience teaching anything, even if it's not English, then it's a plus. And also, they really favor people that are native English speakers. So if you have a passport from an English-speaking country, that is a huge plus as well. Of course, you can prove to them in the interview that you have really good English, etc. But they really do favor people that are from native-speaking countries. So if you have like a foreign passport or anything, that could be a huge plus from what I heard from my friends, etc. Great. I hope that covers Ido's question. Do you have any other questions at the moment? Okay, okay, great. Another one from Guy. After working in Japan for some years, can you also try to apply for citizenship instead of visa?
Sure. Can you Tanaka-san to speak?
Hi. I think you should be able to speak now.
Okay. So actually, I'm not familiar with the citizenship actually because I've been supporting many Israeli people to get their work visa in general. Or but I can consult with our employment team on this matter if you need. So are you familiar with that, Anissa and Shir?
Yeah, actually, I'm not professional in that field, but I heard about that from my friends. My Korean friend studied in Kyoto for 2 years, and she worked for 8 years, so totally 10 years with like professional experience. Then like you can submit your how can I say, citizenship and like a residence permit or something. So yeah, it will be possible for 10 years experience. Yeah, study plus like working. So yeah, that's possible.
Yeah, it's called a permanent residency.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, permanent residency. And yes, if you're there for many years, again, it's another point system. So if you show that you've been there many years and that you're working, if you're married to a Japanese national, that can also help. But it is a long process. I have a friend who is actually married to a Japanese man, and still she will not get the permanent residency for another couple of years. She still has to apply every 1 year, every 3 years to get her visa. But it really depends on your situation. I mean, there are all sorts of visas that you can apply for, but yeah, that really depends on your situation. But it is possible to get a permanent residency eventually, but it will not be citizenship, just permanent residency.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right now, I made a quick research, and the law says, or one of the requirements is that uh, you will live in Japan for more than 10 years, as Annie mentioned before, and also you are good, you are good person here, and you have a you have a good number, good amount of money here, and you have a kind of skill or expertise as well. So these kind of things are factors for you guys to be admitted as a citizenship here.
Great. Thank you for the detailed answer, Tanaka-san. Okay, let's see. Another question from Ido. If I will do a TOEIC or other English exam and the result is very high, is it possible to be favored in the same way as a native English speaker while job hunting? That's a good question, Ido. Anisan, if you don't, I mean, I can answer this if it's okay.
Yeah.
Of course, any test that you show that you have really good English ability would be a plus, of course. But unfortunately, I think the nativity is still a very big. It's considered like a plus plus for those kind of companies that are looking for English teachers. But of course, anything that you can prove that you have really good English might be enough. You should definitely try. I know I have a few friends that are not from native speaking countries and that they have gotten these kind of jobs. So if you have this kind of thing, that will definitely be a plus, I believe. Great. So you're welcome, Ido. Okay, I don't see any more questions for now. So maybe I can tell Guy, because Guy asked about the Axelnode a little bit, so I can tell you a little bit more about Axelnode. So Axelnode is Anywoo is a company that was established by Ani Teradasan, who is here with us today. He came to Israel about 6 years ago and established a company. And the purpose of our company, the purpose of Anywoo, is to be a bridge between Israel and Japan. It's an innovation platform to help both countries enjoy each other's innovation, especially for Japanese companies who are looking for Israeli innovation. We help connect Japanese companies to Israeli startups, but we also help the other way around. We help Israeli startups establish operations or have a market entry in Japan. That is just some of our activities, but we try our best to bring all that is good in Israel to the Japanese market. And that's why lately we also started the Axelnode service. Axelnode is our HR arm, which is a recruitment platform, where we try to bring good Israeli engineers and good Israeli human resources into Japan, because it has been known for many years now the Japanese are looking for more out of the box thinking, trying to have more diversity. So we thought helping Israeli engineers or any other good human resources find a job in Japan, work in Japan, live in Japan, it could be really good for Japan and also for Israel, of course. So that is our recruitment arm, Axelnode. So we are now working to recruit Israelis, innovative, talented, sharp Israelis to come work in Japan. So if you're looking to work in Japan, please do let us know. We have a lot of open positions on our platform right now, and we might be able to find you a good fit. We might be able to find you a great job in Japan and help you move there once the declaration of emergency will end, and hopefully we will resume a new normal. So that was a little bit about Anywoo and Axelnode. I don't see any other questions at the moment. If you guys have any questions later on, please let us know. I would also like to plug our Facebook group. We have a Facebook group called Secret Tokyo Living. We post almost every day new things from Japan, news, recipes, cool places to go in Tokyo, things about Japanese culture, news, anything like that. If you're really interested in Japan, moving to Japan or learning about Japan, anything like that, I just sent the link in the group. Please do feel free. We'll be very happy to see you in our Facebook group. You're welcome, Stav. Very happy. Really happy to see. We have a lot of people coming again and again, and we're so happy to see you guys every time. So please feel free to come join the group. Please let us know anything you need. I will send a follow-up email later on with some of the links that I've sent and some more details. So thank you all for coming today. Thank you very, very much. Arigatou gozaimasu.